So CJ Gardner Johnson got some pretty unfortunate news. I don't want to say bad news because this could have been a whole lot worse. Suffered a non-contact injury during today's practice. And what I look at and what I want to talk about is, first off, before we say anything, prayers go out wishing for a speedy recovery for CJ Gardner Johnson. You know, a guy who wants to get that contract. He felt as if the Eagles did not offer him what he felt like he played up to. And now to this point, he's another Detroit Lion who has something to prove. And that's kind of been the theme of a lot of guys on this team, wanting something to prove and wanting to prove the NFL that these guys can play high-level football. Now, with this, it's kind of that risk. I mean, we think about it, and Dan Campbell, all of the guys, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, when making the practice schedule, understand these guys are not padded up right now. So they're doing everything to the best of their ability to help them get better while not putting these guys in harmful positions just yet. Now, when the pads are on, you know, it's kind of all bets are off. We got to hit guys and we got to get better. But right now, this was a non-contact injury, like I said. So we didn't get in a situation where we kind of knew this would happen. It was kind of one of those freak accident type things. And I think about the team. The first thing I thought about was, it seems like in a season where I said we're trying to prove everyone right instead of proving everyone wrong, everything is going wrong. And I wouldn't say it's going wrong to the extent as where we have to be worried and, you know, scared about how the season is going to play out. But we think about Jamison Williams. We think about CJ Moore. We think about now CJ Gardner Johnson, Marvin Jones, Emmanuel Moses, some of the things, and guys just dealing with injuries, suspensions, different things that we have had so far. And I think that Dan Campbell has built such a culture that we're not going to let anything break us. Now, understand, I don't have an exact timeline for CJ Gardner Johnson just yet, but I think the biggest thing for him is that at this point in his career, we know he can play football. I think that's why we brought him here on the contract as a free agent. But I want to say that he's still going to be active in meetings. He's still going to be active when he gets to a walkthrough pace, to walk through the plays and the different things, the audibles, the shifts in the defense. So he's going to have all of the mental things down packed. And that's the biggest thing when you're in a new system, when you're on a new team. So luckily for him, he can still be actively involved, rehabbing that a little bit, getting that knee back better. And then now I think that the biggest thing is Brian Branch, a guy who I've been high on. One of the guys that I think I'm higher on Brian Branch than a lot of people because I followed the entire draft and I covered it, and I feel safe in saying Brian Branch was a top 20 player in the NFL. If we take away positions, Brian Branch was a top 20 player in the 2023 NFL draft for me. Jack Campbell, he was another guy. Even though he's a linebacker, these were highly graded players. I talk about just a football player for me. So Brian Branch being a guy who I could have saw drafted in the top 25, he went in the second round. So now he's going to be asked to step up into that slot position. And I think the biggest thing is when Emmanuel Mosley, when he gets fully healthy, now he's a guy who can also play outside. But then Cameron Sutton, a guy that came over from Pittsburgh, and I talked about him a lot. He can play both inside and out. Played a lot of nickel for us last year. So now when I look at what he's doing for Detroit, I think right now is going to be an outside corner. But if it comes down to it, still got Jerry Jacobs, still got Will Harris, some of the guys in which I've talked about earlier. But we have some versatility. Their strength in numbers. And I think what Brad Holmes has been doing, what Dan Campbell has been doing, we're looking at this and we're seeing how can we get better. Regardless of what anyone thinks, how can we get better? Because we're only as strong as that weakest link. And I think with this secondary, there's not a lot of weak links. So adding to that now, Brian Branch can step up. All the guys that I just named, we got guys who can step up into that role. Still got Tracy in the back end. Still got Kirby Joseph. And I think about it is now Jerry Jacobs, he was talking about when he saw the injury. You know, he instantly went and prayed because he was a guy who's dealt with some injuries, came off of that, and did not want to see CJ Gardner Johnson go down that because you understand what it takes. These guys work extremely hard to do what they do at a high level, and to have that all taken away by a non-contact injury, that's something that can mess with you mentally. But like I said, just unfortunate. He's going to be back before season's in. And luckily for the Detroit Lions, this is a team who's looking to make a playoff run. So that gives them a little more time. It's not as like, you know, if we're a quarterback, you know, we're a guy who's rushing back into the system, into the scheme, even when we're not fully healthy because we can't do it without him. Now, I'm not saying CJ Gardner Johnson is not an impact player, but I'm saying we got some guys behind him, strength in numbers, that we can give him some more time to get fully healthy and come back and be that ball hawk that he always was. Let me know what you think about this down below in the comments. CJ Gardner Johnson suffering a non-contact injury, but we didn't have the worst happen. He will be back sometime during this year. No surgery, no nothing needed, no structural damage. So look at all of that. Pretty good news when we talk about the end all. Something I gotta say. But thank you for watching today's episode. Just something I had to touch on because I think that, like I said, with the team who's looking to make that next step and really prove everyone right, not prove everyone wrong, everything has looked like it's been trying to go against them. They're not bending. They're not breaking. Lions pride.